All right, what's going on, everybody? I'm Blitz5, and I hope you guys are doing well. And in today's video, I'm going to be talking all about Sanhok. And this map does come up in conversation a lot because people either tend to love this map or hate it. But that's not what I'm going to be talking about in this video. I'm actually going to be going over the map layout itself, Sanhok being remastered, the old version of Sanhok, and news that PUBG is going to be doing several massive changes to Sanhok in one of the upcoming updates. So I'm going to cover all that stuff, and it's pretty interesting here. But first, I want to remind everybody to subscribe. I'm getting very close to 10,000 subscribers on YouTube, so I would really appreciate it. And if you haven't already, we've been having so much fun over on Twitch, twitch.tv/Blitz5 and friends. So if you guys are new to PUBG or interested in watching live streams, definitely stop by. We've been having so much fun, especially after the free-to-play launch. So I feel like I should mention this first for any of the new PUBG players out there, that PUBG has actually gone back and remastered all of the original maps in game. And a lot of this was to help with performance and also modernize these maps a little bit to bring it into the modern era of gaming. And they also took a little bit of player feedback into suggestion while making some changes, especially when they did Sanhok. Also, as I work on this video, I want to add in here that anytime PUBG has made an actual physical change to the map layout, it's kind of been a cluster F. So when they redid Erangel and Miramar, they virtually kept those maps the same. But when they did Sanhok and Vikendi, they moved locations around. They changed some of the famous locations. They changed the color palettes, the weather, the terrain, the way things look. And it seems like both of these maps are constantly getting little edits, updates, and changes to fix issues with the maps and also address player complaints. It's kind of been a disaster, and I hate to say that because I like to be positive about PUBG, and the actual maps aren't a disaster, but the situation with constant edits and changes just shows that what they did probably wasn't the right move, but at least PUBG is working in the right direction to make these maps better. All right, so I made a list of some of the major changes to Sanhok, and the one I want to start with first is the large mountain on the west side of the map. And this was a really interesting location because it's one of the tallest locations in PUBG. It was very rocky, but it's also where I saw some of the first player complaints about this map, especially from the competitive scene, because a lot of times players would be frustrated, even in normal matches, because it would basically come down to luck, whether you're on top of the mountain or on the bottom of the mountain when the circle closed, or which side of the circle the circle would close on, if it would go top or bottom. And I totally get that. So when they addressed Sanhok and remastered it, they kind of changed this whole mountain area, but honestly, they made it extremely steep. It's just a very odd area of the map. They removed a compound that was below that was kind of nice there. And ever since, it's just been an awkward place to land. It's just a very steep mountain instead of having different layers. And it's not very fun to play on that side of the map, at least in my opinion. And then another player complaint I saw was the waterways on Sanhok, especially around Bootcamp, because a lot of times the circle tends to be in that area in the center or northern side of Sanhok for whatever reason. And there would be a lot of deaths of people trying to cross the water from the northwest island to Bootcamp in that area. And there's also a small island above Bootcamp. So PUBG went in and they narrowed all of the waterways and they made some changes around Bootcamp. They added an extra bridge, which I feel like was a great change. The extra bridge is really nice. It makes more action over there, easy to get across. But by narrowing all the waterways, they really ruined that aspect of Sanhok. I mean, the boats and aqua rails are pointless. I mean, they kind of are in PUBG in general, but this was the only map where they had a purpose. Now it's almost impossible to use them because it's so narrow and a lot of the water is shallow. And then now if you're getting shot when you're in the water, most of it's too shallow, so you can't actually swim. So you just get stuck walking really slow. When I think when they made this change, they were just intended making it where people could drive through the water now and get around the map a lot quicker. But if you don't have a vehicle, you kind of just get screwed. And in most cases, you're not using a vehicle in Sanhok. So I feel like a lot of these areas got messed with, and now you kind of just get caught in no man's land. But I will say the whole area around the north of Bootcamp with the extra rocks, islands, and bridge, to me, was one of the few benefits of remastering Sanhok. I really like that change. And then probably the biggest disappointment for players that I don't think there was any feedback around this was the change of Bootcamp. So Bootcamp is one of the most iconic hot drops in PUBG for sure, and definitely one of the hottest. People love that area. When they remastered Bootcamp, they completely changed it, and people complain even to this day. And when they redid this, they also left out the warehouses just north of Bootcamp, but recently they've gone in and they've edited Bootcamp. They kind of made it like the old one with a little bit of a flair of the new one. They like mixed both the boot camps and they brought back those warehouses to the north. And honestly, I've been landing there a lot more now. It's a lot of fun, but I know a lot of people still just miss old Bootcamp. And then moving on to another location that was very popular is Ruin. So really on Sanhok, you have Bootcamp, Ruins, and Paradise were the three biggest hot drops for a long time in a lot of the camp bases, Alpha, Bravo, and Charlie. Paradise has basically been untouched, but Ruins was completely changed. And there was a lot of player information that they had over there, which is why they were making changes because of the way that certain people were always getting killed from certain areas, and there was a power spot. But really, the new Ruins is such a weird structure that I don't really know many people that really like to land there. But I'm sure PUBG has that data, and you guys might have your own opinion. Then we have Airfield, which I feel like is one of the better changes to the game, which took over Magnai. Some players did like to land there, but PUBG said overall it was a very low landing spot from all their data. And Airfield allowed them to introduce airplanes into the game, the glider, excuse me, which was a really awesome addition to Sanhok. It's kind of a gimmick, but it's just another fun option to play the game, and options are where it's at. But honestly, I feel like Airfield should have gone down to where Docks is. And Docks is another change that players were very disappointed in. Docks was a fan favorite, especially kind of in the sweaty competitive scene. People would go there and it was a TDM map, and they turned Docks into Getaway. But for me, my personal opinion, I could kind of take or leave either or. I never go there. I don't care about Docks or Getaway, but at least Docks was a little bit more open and was, to me, a little bit more fun to play in. When Getaway, there's a lot of buildings. You really never know where anybody is. There's a lot of corridors. You can kind of get lost in some of the buildings, but really the circle never goes here. I've never seen a circle finish at Getaway in the new version of Sanhok. And I feel like this would be the perfect place for gliders, because if you're going to land here, you're going to have a really far journey to the circle. So you might as well have a glider to get there. But again, that's just my opinion. And then we also have the changes of the color palette, which they changed everything to be darker, a little bit more realistic. They wanted to seem like this is an island that people haven't been on in a really long time. And this came with a lot of issues, like I mentioned before. There was bad weather, bad glare. There even is still some settings on Sanhok where it's really hard to see people. And now the ghillie suits blend in even more, which I know is their intention, but it's to the point where sometimes you literally can just be standing right next to somebody and you can't even see them. And I know that's brought a lot of frustration to people in the game. Sometimes I like the new palette over the other one because the other one was very kind of almost neon and washed out, but I do enjoy and kind of miss the easier visuals of old Sanhok. And I think that this one is kind of one of those things where you could take it or leave it again. And then PUBG also added in the loot truck, which was a game-changing item to have a truck literally driving around the map that you can shoot at. So this obviously changes a lot of the dynamics to Sanhok, but obviously isn't a location. And lastly, we have Quarry, which is a really interesting location on Sanhok and a place that I used to land at a lot back in the OG version. So it was a really open quarry. You'd land there and it was sort of a fun hot drop at times. But then if anybody came on the outskirts of Quarry, they definitely had an advantage over you because you were kind of pinned in this bowl. So when they updated Quarry, they made this area much more dense and intricate. They added more rocks and pillars and even wooden bridges to connect some of the different areas. And it looks a lot more interesting and is actually easier to loot on the top level, but then it makes it really difficult to go down into the middle and bottom layer because there's just so much going on. You kind of just get lost in there and it takes too long to loot for how much loot is actually there. And lastly, earlier today, as I record this, it's February 4th, 2022, PUBG put out a post talking about the future of the map rotation in the game. They put out a map service plan, and they talked about which maps will be available during the next few updates in 16.1, 16.2, and 17.1. And in update 16.2, they're going to be taking out Sanhok, and they wrote a little excerpt here that Sanhok will be taking a break in update 16.2 while undergoes several massive changes. Stay tuned for more details on Sanhok's big update in future patch notes. So right now we are having 15.2 come to an end. So 16.1 will be the next update. So in about 2 to 3 months from now, we should be seeing what these massive changes mean. And we'll probably be seeing a preview of that beforehand. So definitely interested to see what PUBG is doing. Are they going to be just reverting some of the locations? Are they changing Sanhok again for a third time, really? Are they going back to old Sanhok, but remastered? I mean, really anything is on the table, and I could kind of see PUBG going any which way. So again, would definitely love to hear what you guys think about that. And also some of your favorite locations on this map. And again, please remember to subscribe if you haven't already. And if you enjoyed this video, please leave a like or a dislike if you didn't. As always, thank you all for watching. I'm Blitz5 and peace out.